And this is my mommy. And who's going to be my assistant for today. And we're going to be talking about owls. Get me out.
We're making this owl.
See that owl? Do you see the owl? And we will talk to you about how to make it on June
1st is the workshop we're having. If you are not able to attend the workshop and would like to make this owl, we do have kits available, and it will be on the description box below.
Yes. So be here that day. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, June.
Okay, so let's go ahead and get choosing our body and so on, and we'll show you actually what you get to select when making your selection of your kit. Okay, so the first thing you'll do when you come in, either join the workshop or when you're making your selection for your kit, is you're going to want to see what color body do you want. And this is just as an example of what we have right now. We have lots of other colors to choose from. So you can choose the yellow, the purple, or the orange. So Dwight Jr., which color do you want to make for your sister?
Yellow.
Yellow. So he wants to make the yellow body. So the yellow body, okay, just so you know, you're going to need a front piece, and then you're going to need a back piece. See that? So this is what we're referencing right now is the body piece. So we're going to go ahead and grab 2 of those because we need a front and a back, and we'll take that and set it aside. Okay, so now that we've done that, now we're going to move on to our okay, now we're going to move on to the other parts of the body. So right here on the owl, you get to see these are actual little feathers. So these are body feathers that we're going to be selecting now. You can do all of them the same color. You could do 2 the same color and 1 as an accent, or you could do all 3 separate colors. So Dwight Jr., what colors are we going to do for the feathers for our owl for your sister?
Blue, yellow.
This blue or this blue?
Light blue.
Light blue. And you want to do yellow the same color as the body?
Yes.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Then that and that.
Pink.
Then purple.
And then purple. Okay. Great. So we're going to go ahead and grab the extra ones on to the side. And if you don't know what you want, you could just say, you know, choose the main body color, and we'll give you some good ideas for the feathers and so on. Okay, so now that we have our feathers, we'll set that aside. Now, what color wings are we making? So here on the owl, Wonka has these beautiful green wings right here. So what color wings are we making today?
Blue.
These purple ones?
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to do the purple wings.
Oh,
Okay. So for the wings, you're actually going to need 2 sets of wings. So the wing is actually 2 pieces. So you'll need 4 pieces for your wings. And this is all explained in your kit that you get with your directions, and everything is already explained there. Okay. So this is what it's going to look like when you get your kit. Okay. You get your big eyes. You get your big eyes right here, and then you get your black eyes, and then you get the little kind of glimmer and your nose, your little beak. Okay, so that's everything that comes in the kit right here. Hope you guys can move this over just a little bit so you guys can see what comes in the kit. Can they see that? Yep. Okay, good. So we got our body, we've got our wings, we've got our feathers, and we have our eyes, sets, and our beak.
Why didn't I get to choose the beak?
The beak comes in either orange or yellow, and in this kit, we're just going to go ahead and keep it with the orange. Okay? Perfect. So now, this little guy here comes with these little feet here. The first one did. I found this to be sometimes a little difficult, especially for beginners, to kind of get this just lined up right and do the hand stitching. So we are omitting that from the kit. We're just leaving it like that. Okay? So just so you know, if you don't get that in the kit. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and show you what the first steps are going to be in putting this together.
Hello.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get this assembled. So we're going to need our 3 feathers, and you're going to need 1 body piece. And if you're working with hand sewing, I do suggest having a large embroidery hoop. You don't have to have it, it just makes it easier for the little ones to do their hand stitching, and I'll show you how to do that with hand stitching, and then I'll show you how to do it on the machine as well. Okay, you need your hand needle and thread. If you're going to do this, I do suggest having a good thick needle for the little ones. Believe it or not, those smaller ones are actually a lot more sharp, so they're more dangerous than the big ones. So to go ahead and get your body, and then we're going to hoop it up onto the hoop. So all we're doing is just making sure that it's nice and centered where we want it. And if this is the first one, and this is the second one, and this is the third one, it works like that. So we kind of want to get an idea of what you want it to look like before you actually start sewing it down. So I know I want this blue one down there, so I'm going to go ahead and take these 2 off, leave that one there.
Yes.
We're going to go ahead and grab some pins.
Yes.
So we can pin this down.
You should pin it down because it might be hard for kids.
That's right. You have to pin it down so it doesn't move for the kids. So unhoop your embroidery hoop. Okay. And Dwight Jr. will demonstrate how we're actually going to sew this.
Don't stay my right. Just stay feeling.
Fine. Okay. And hoop it over.
I'm just pretending to say that. Okay?
Okay, so now you're going to need to make sure it gets nice. Because the fleece is nice and thick, you're going to have to really make sure this is expanded as far as you can go, and then pop it over. There we go. You don't need to pull on this or anything. It's just for them to get the motion going up and down. You ready, Dwight Jr.? Come on. Okay, so when we're sewing, where do we start? How do we start sewing? Where does the knot go? The knot goes on the wrong side. So you just poke your needle through.
Yes. I'll be damaged, baby.
Poke your needle through like that. Once you first get started, it's easier. Then you go down.
Up. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down,
Oh, see, I've got it through the wing. We got it through the top part of the wing. Okay, so it's gonna
for Jake.
do it right through here. Are you gonna start doing some sewing, Dwight?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll come do some sewing. Here, Dwight's gonna show you. Right here's the needle.
I am the master at this, but sometimes I have to be very demonstrative. Mommy, come on.
You're doing great. Keep going.
I can't do it. Now the demonstrator's overdone. I need my mom to help me.
Okay. He usually does a better job of staying focused, but today he's over there playing with my other machine because it's over in the studio portion, the recording area. So he's playing with my industrial machine. It's off. He can't turn it on, but he likes to play with it. That's not the on button.
I just turn on the light.
Okay, so you do that straight across. You do that straight across until you get to the other end. Okay, but you can see how this motion kind of helps with the younger kids when they're sewing. Even the adults. It helps us too. Okay, get all the way to the end and then knot it off. And then I'm going to show you how to do it on the machine.
I want to.
Okay, so now that we're on the machine, I'm going to show you how to do it on the machine. So now that we've made our first place mark there, you can actually go ahead and unpin it, and then we are going to unhoop it. If you were going to go ahead and do this part, the next part in hand sewing, then you grab your feather that's in the middle, and you put that right on top. And all the stitches get covered, so you're not going to see any of these stitches. So we're going to put the next one on, and then put the next one on, and so on and so on. That's how you keep doing it, okay? So we're going to pin this one down after we unhoop it. And just loosen up my hoop a little bit, because I actually didn't even really have it tight. It's just to kind of make it easier to flip back and forth for younger kids. Okay. Now we've got that. Pretty. Okay, and then we're going to do the middle one. Line it up where you want to. Make sure it looks nice. Pin it down. You want to put your pin somewhere where it's going to be away from the stitches so you don't have to unpin. Okay, if that helps. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take it to the sewing machine, and I'm going to show you how I run it right across that top stitch and do the next one. I'm going to grab that machine, pull it closer to me. I'm going to put the owl down over the side. I'm going to line up the edge of my feather top right there to the top there. Put my needle down, and then you can back stitch a little bit if you want to, but it's pretty small stitches, so it shouldn't come out. Go ahead and take your time and sew across. Right there. Make sure your needle's up at the highest position before you take it off. Okay, and then we're going to cut it. I got a little cutter right back here on the side. See that? And then I've got my scissors. Cut off my big threads. And that's what it looks like right now. You know, you can go ahead and unpin it. And do the next one. So let me go ahead and show you this. Next one. There we go. Now here's a tip when you're putting your owl feathers on. You don't want it being too high up or too far down. If these feathers came all the way down here, it's going to get caught in the seam allowance when we put our two body pieces together. Okay, so that. Again. And we've got some more stitches. Okay, so now that we've got that done, now we're going to put the eyes on. And we'll set this piece aside for right now. And I'm going to show you how the eyes are going to work. Because the eyes are all separate little pieces, okay, we'll take our beak and put that aside right there. Because our eyes are already all separated, we need to put it all together before we put it on the actual owl. So this is where you can come in and do some hand stitching again, or you can do it on the machine. I'm going to show you how to do it by hand stitching because I find you can really control the outcome of these, especially these little tiny eyes, getting all sewn down rather than you doing it on the machine. Okay, so now what you're going to do is you're going to put your eye placements where you want them. So I kind of want the blacks of my eyes to be kind of centered, and then I'll move my sparkles of my eyes where I want them. There we go. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to go ahead and just pin it. Just pinning it in place right there just so that I don't have it move on me too much. You can have this be any way you want to. I'm going to work with this small little piece first. I'm going to come in from the bottom because that's where my knot is going to be. I'm going to come up and I'm going to do just 2 stitches really. It's going to be like a little cross. You can barely see it because it's matching thread. Crisscross. Okay, and then come down here and do little stitches around the big circle. See that? Yeah, sometimes I go a little too high. There we go. And you work your way all the way around. If you have matching thread, you don't have to be as precise. You are going to see the stitches, but you're not going to see them as aggressively if you would use a contrasting color. So if you use the same color thread, then it works all the way around. And you do that for both eyes. So now we're finishing off our stitch on this last eye. Go ahead and tie it off. What I do to tie it off is I make a tiny little stitch right before my thread goes away. I loop my needle through, and then there's a knot. That's how I tie off my needles. Okay, like that there, and there are our eyes. Okay, so now we get to put our eyes onto our body. There we go. So we're gonna go like that, and these are gonna go right there, and I'm actually scrunching them down a little bit so it's like all the little feathers together. Now here's where the beak comes in. The beak is actually going to go right in there like that. See how cutie that is? So the beak kind of goes in hidden underneath here. So now we can go ahead and stitch the beak down. All we're doing is stitching down that top part because the rest of it's going to get sewn in when we do that part. So I'm going to take my eyes off and we're going to sew our beak on. The beak is going to go about right there. And I say about right there because it all depends on how much of it you want it peeking out from underneath your eyes. That's a personal preference. Get your machine. I'm just making sure I'm sewing through. It's up. Pull it up. There we go. Cut it off. There it is. So now we get to cut off all of our extra little threads. And there it is. So pretty. Okay, so now we get to put our eyes on. Put your eyes on where you want them. Make sure it looks good for you. And then you're going to pin. Again, I want you pinning these away from the areas you're going to be sewing because I don't want you having to move the pins while you're sewing. This is a good habit to get into, especially if you're working with little ones who are going to be your little helpers when sewing this. Whether it's hand sewing or on a machine, you do want to make sure you do that. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to change my thread to white, and then I'm going to go all the way around the eyes. I'm going to show you how to do that. You can do this by hand stitching, or you can do it by machine stitching. So on Wonka here, you can kind of see those hand stitches. These are all hand stitched right here. I took the time to hand stitch that. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do again. I'm going to show you on the machine actually, because you kind of have the idea of how you do it with hand sewing. This project was designed so that if I wanted to do the entire thing hand stitched, you could. Kind of cute, huh? All right, so we're going to go ahead and change the thread and come back. Okay. So now we're going to go ahead and put my owl down. I'm going to start right here in the middle of the the middle of the eye of the owl. Okay, and again, I'm going to use that side of my presser foot to help me guide me to go around these curves. You kind of want to pick something on your sewing machine and just use that as a focus point. And I'm slowly turning. Now, if you need to put your needle down and then shift and move your owl a little bit, you can. It's almost as if the owl itself was in one place and I'm just moving it in a circular motion. It's kind of thick through here, so just take your time. It's going to thump a little bit. Don't be scared. It's like 3 layers of It's like 3 layers of fleece right here at that point. I'm getting to that center point right here, down here. I put my needle down. I'm going to lift up my presser foot and readjust it so that, again, that side of that presser foot's right over here. And then go again. And it helps you with that nice sharp curve right there. Just one little back stitch just to make sure. Okay, off. There is our little owl. So cute. Okay. Now that we've done all that, this is what our owl looks like now. So he's almost ready. Okay. Now the next piece we're going to need to do is we're going to need to make the wings. See that? Those wings? These wings are floppy right here. They can be completely floppy, but I just kind of hand tack them right here. I'm going to show you how to make the wings now. So set your body piece upside and grab your wings. So for the wings, what we're looking to do is put the wrong sides touching. So it looks like these are the wrong sides, and then these are the, these are the pretty sides. So yes, I'm going to leave it just how it is because I think it's pretty sides touching anyway. You can't really tell too much with fleece, but sometimes you can. So just pin it again in the middle. So you're not having to move any of these pins. 2 pins is fine. You don't need too many of them. Okay. I put 1 vertical, 1 horizontal right there. Okay, that's what it looks like. Now, if you're new to sewing, you may need to get yourself a little place mark so you can give yourself a little opening and mark it for yourself. So make those little marks right here. So you need about an inch, inch and a half opening at the top. Okay, so we're going to start sewing here and go all the way around and stop sewing there. I'm going to use that side of that presser foot again as my seam allowance. Okay, I'm going to back stitch just a couple stitches when I first get started. Take it off. There you go, that's what it looks like. So there's our opening, and then there's that sewn all the way around. Okay. So now what we're going to do, and this is very handy, just to make sure that these curves look nice, so you want to cut into the curve. You're going to cut as close as you can to that curve without cutting over your stitches. And it's like feathering it almost. So that's what you're looking for. Ooh, I'm way too high again. That's what you're looking for, is it to kind of look like that. Okay? Then you're going to turn these out. I'm going to have my assistant help me with turning and cutting. Take your fingers in here. Now, it will seem kind of small. I promise it will go through. It's just going to take some time. Take your finger and just pop it through. If you need to have a larger opening, please just leave yourself a larger opening. So here's another tip. if you are doing this with younger kids and you don't really care for the whole churning out method to keep the seams on the inside, it's okay to leave it with the seam on the outside. Just trim it up nice and pretty and then leave the exposed seam. Because this is fleece that we're working with, you do not have to finish it with a zigzag or anything. It will not unravel. It will not fray at all. So just taking my finger now, I'm just popping it out, popping those corners out right there. There we go. So we've got one wing. We're going to do the same thing to the other wing, and then I'll show you how to put that together. Okay. There we go. You guys can see a little bit better. Okay, so now we've got our two wings. Okay, so with our wings, we're going to put them on either side like this. Okay, so that they can kind of flop out a little bit. You can do it like this if you want to, or like this if you want to. The biggest thing is you want to make sure it's up against the edge so that when it's sewn down, it comes on the inside. So they need to be facing inside. I know. They look a little weird because here they're on the outside of the body, but see, it's inside that seam. It's inside this seam right here. Okay? So they need to be inside like this. So now that you've done that, I'm going to have mine angled just a tiny bit, and I'm going to pin. Now, because we're having to take this little guy inside out and everything else like that, this is one of those times that you're just going to need to tack this down from here to here, from here to here. I could put my pin over here a little bit. It might kind of keep it in place. So let's see if that happens to keep that pin out the way. Sew it down right here. Sew it down right here with the sewing machine. Or you can hand tack it down. It doesn't matter if you do it by hand or on the sewing machine. It's going to be thick. So just take your time. I'm not back stitching because it's just a tack down stitch. I'm not too worried about it coming out because I'm going to resew over that. On this side. Off. That's what you get. Okay, so now that we've got that down, we're going to take our pins out. And I like to do this versus having the pins in, sew it around, and then turn it out, because if those pins are inside, you might stick yourself when you're turning it inside out. Okay, so now we're going to get our other body piece. Remember, we had two body pieces. We're going to take our body piece and put it over the other one, just like this. Line it up. And at these points here where it's kind of chunky, you are going to need to take it and kind of like stretch it over itself and make sure you line it up, the two body pieces. Okay, does it have to be absolutely exact? No, but it has to be close. So now that we've done that, we're going to go ahead and start pinning. Okay, so we're going to pin, and I want to pin on the inside. Remember how I want to pin in and away from those edges so we don't have to move any pins? Right in here is where I'm going to leave my opening. The larger you leave your opening, the easier it is to turn out, but it is also a larger piece you're going to have to hand stitch when we're finished. So leave an appropriate amount. I like to use my hand width as a marking for myself. There we go. Go ahead, and I just made those little marks for myself. If you don't have to, if you've been doing it for a while, sometimes you can kind of skip that, but I like to do it just in case. Sometimes I start sewing and just start like kind of humming to myself, and then before I know it, it's all closed. It's not the end of the world. Just you get a seam ripper and rip it out. Again, we're going to use the side of that fabric as my guide for my seam allowance. It's going to get nice and thick through here, so be careful. Go nice and slow. Nice and slow. here, you're going to have to stop and kind of make sure your needle's down before you adjust it a little bit. Now it's completely sewn, so take all of your pins out. There we go. So now we're going to do the same thing we did before. Remember when we snipped into our curves and we feathered them open? That helps when it's turning out. It makes it nice and easy. Okay, now that you've got that done, now we're going to take our hand, put it on the inside, grab our owl, and turn it right side out. Get in there and poke out those ears. We love those ears. There we go. Body poked out. Look how cute that is. Adorable. I think my daughter's going to love it. Okay, so right here you can see it didn't quite catch all of the wing, which isn't a big deal, but if you want to go back in there and tuck it in a little bit more, you can. So for me, I'm just going to leave it there. It's not hurting anybody. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to stuff it. We're going to stuff it really good with stuffing, and then I'll show you how we do our hand stitch down here. So this is important right now before we start stuffing. So you kind of poke it, you fold it into itself and kind of crease it. If you use the soft side of the scissors, you kind of make a creased portion. I'm making those little folds. You'll see why. So here is the opening. Now what I like to do is establish where that fold line is. It's going to give us a guide of where we're doing our stitching. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the needle, we're going to come up in from underneath and come in on that fold line. Okay. Then the secret is you're going to come straight across where that seam comes out and you're going to go in. And it's just following that fold line back and forth. Okay, go across. And this is like if we were making stitches. Like if you ever see stitches on somebody, this is what they look like if you're making stitches. Hand sewing, this is called a ladder stitch, an invisible stitch, named a lot of different things. So again, I'm going to go right across. You pull on it right across. All the way to the other side of the opening. You just keep doing that. Now, I did it in a contrast color so you guys can see what happens. I'm going to go ahead and pull on it. I'm going to tuck that little in. Pull on it and look what happens. You can't even see it. If I had exactly the same matching thread, you wouldn't see any of those stitches at all, actually. See that? That's what you're looking for when you're looking for an invisible seam. Now, If you are not comfortable with this, you haven't practiced it before, and you still want to stitch it up, no worries. I'm going to show you what to do now with the next thread. So what you do is you just pinch it closed, okay? And you go through and you just barely catch both of them. Just barely catch both of those little folds. Just barely catch both of those little folds and just go in and out, in and out, in and out. In and out. I made that distinction there so you would see which one I'm doing now. So it's not too much of a difference, but it kind of is. If you're using the same color thread, you wouldn't see these stitches at all either. So catch both of them all the way to the other side. Now look at that. Now you do see those stitches right there, right here where I had done those other little stitches, but compared, really, you can't really see them all that much when he's sitting like this. So you can't really see it. So either one that you feel most comfortable you doing, you could do either one of them. Okay, so we're hand sewing all the way to the end. If you had a matching thread, you wouldn't see these stitches at all. I did a contrast color so you guys can see it show up on camera. When we get to the end, here's a secret. Again, make a little tiny knot. Before it goes away, you're going to take your needle and go through the loop and tie it off. That's tied off. Now, instead of just snipping this right now, what I do is I take my needle and I push it in and I make it come out somewhere else in the body. I pull it just a little bit just to snip it off. And the thread is inside. The thread tail is inside. You didn't have a risk of cutting it or anything like that. They're so cute. He's so cute. So now let's change up the view a little bit so you guys can see what we're looking at. Yay! Look at the little owl. Okay. There we go. He's all finished. Or she is all finished. We haven't come up with a name for her yet. Maybe Tootsie. I like Tootsie. We like to name all of our stuffed animals. So this one is going to be Tootsie. Wonka is our original. And here's Wonka. And here's Tootsie. So definitely give it a try. If you can't come to the workshop, then be sure to look at the link below and you guys can order yourselves a kit. And it's so cute. And you could hand tack it there if you want to, or leave it open, however you want to do it. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this sewing tutorial, and I hope to see you guys on June 1st. And if I don't, I hope to hear from you guys soon so that we can get you guys some of these cute kits for you and your kids to have some fun sewing. Have a great day.